Hey everyone, welcome to Zack Attack Reviews. Today I'm excited to talk to you about Taika Waititi's new Marvel flick, Thor Love and Thunder. I think the 30th Marvel movie to come out, and starring Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, Tessa Thompson, and a slew of other great actors, including Christian Bale's Gore the God Butcherer. And I was really going in with this low expectations. Just, if you see my top 27 MCU movies, I'm not a huge fan of Ragnarok, and that was Taika Waititi's first Thor film. Like, I enjoyed it, but I thought it was a little too silly. So when I saw the trailer for this, I was like, ooh, this looks like it's doubling down on the silly. But with Gore the God Butcher being it, Christian Bale, the level of actor he is, Russell Crowe being Zeus, I thought maybe there'll be a little bit more balance. Let's see if it is. I'm going to start with the premise. Thor Love and Thunder picks up with Odin's son, played by Chris Hemsworth, with the Guardians of the Galaxy. He's still trying to figure out his purpose, like we saw at the end of Endgame. And he's traveling with them, having swashbuckling adventures, being the braggadocious fun Thor that we know. But in the midst of all this, gods are being killed and butchered, and he's trying to figure out who it is. On the other side of this, Jane Foster, his old girlfriend from, I guess, 8 years ago, he said it in the movie, is now the new Mighty Thor, and he's trying to figure out how Mjolnir picked a new person. While this love is starting to rekindle, Gore the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale, who believes gods are worthless and need to all be destroyed, targets Thor specifically. Let's talk about the good. Chris Hemsworth as Thor is the standout of the movie. He owns this character like how Tony Stark owns Iron Man and Chris Evans owns Captain America, Steve Rogers. He's coming even to more of his own into his role in this movie itself. We kind of get the characterization of what Thor is. He's this free-willing character that's vulnerable, loving, but he still has this hyper masculinity, but it's not toxic, which is a very fun combination because he's a bit of a goofball at all times, but so strong, and you want to just be around him and hang out with him. But also he can be a little bit annoying as well because he has that bravado, and Chris Hemsworth plays all those parts really well. And everything that he did when he started turning this more goofy version of Thor in Ragnarok is turned up to 11 here, even with some Jean-Claude Van Bloodsport split kicks. And this movie is a sci-fi romantic comedy, and that's where Natalie Portman's Jane Foster ties in. I think the chemistry between these two has been the best that has ever been, especially when they show the past and why they broke up and what led to it. That montage we get into in the movie, their chemistry was off the record. It was really, really great. I think Natalie Portman did a great job throughout the movie playing Jane Foster in a way that was just much more interesting than it was in the previous movies. Tessa Thompson, I always think is great. I want to see more of her, and it's definitely in this movie, it made me feel like I want to see more of her character, her ruling Asgard. I would even take a 6-episode Disney Plus series, just her in Asgard being king. I think that she plays on the tropes of the manly man while being a woman really well. She carries herself like how a lot of male characters would, while still being feminine in a way. And I really like the dynamic that she has. She's fun here, and she bounces off Thor and Mighty Thor really, really well. And those are the heroes that stand out to me in the movie. But the one villain in the movie is Gore the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale. The Dark Knight himself has crossed over to the MCU, even though he says he doesn't know what the MCU is. And Christian Bale, as expected, as we saw a little bit in the trailers, ate up every scene he was in. He embodied this character in a way that I thought was really, really dope. He was very creepy. He brought a very dark and depressed tone to a movie that is very bright, beautiful, zany, and goofy, and he really just sold every scene. I really believe he was a guy that was devoted to gods and was betrayed by his one true god, and decided he thought all gods need to be massacred and killed. And he was very sympathetic in a way that Marvel villains have tried to be sympathetic, like Killmonger and Thanos. But I feel like amongst the three of them, his reasoning and his thought process made the most sense, and the execution made the most sense. And I really enjoyed his bouncing off with Jane and Valkyrie and Thor himself. I think that he did a great job fitting right in and doing the action as well. The character looks frail, but he just has this physicality to him that made him seem like he could go against the big Chris Hemsworth that has the big arms as big as my body. My last good point I want to say is Taika Waititi. I had a smile on my face throughout the movie. This movie is one of the most beautifully shot MCU movies. It's bright, colorful, it's fun, it has a lot of jokes, and I think that's gonna be the deciding factor of how much you like the movie is if you like Taika's comedy, because this is, if you love Thor Ragnarok, he doubles down on that type of comedy here to the 11th degree, and it just joke after joke after, sometimes it felt like skits within the movie itself, and a lot of it was hit for me, and it was really funny and made me enjoy the movie a lot. I like romantic comedies, and I think it was executed pretty well. Now let's talk about the bad. So, first off, I gotta say that this movie was too short. It's just under 2 hours, and there was so much story and so many new characters or new version of characters in the story that I don't think that all the characters got their just due. And as someone that is a fan of the comics that this is based off of, some of the only Thor comics that I've read is Jason Aaron's Mighty Thor run and the run where he does Gore the God Butcher. I don't think that they got a chance to do any of those service. Like I said, I thought Natalie Portman did a more interesting version of Jane Foster in here, but I don't think she did a good Mighty Thor Jane Foster. How that character was the character has cancer, and there's things that's tied into her being Thor there that I don't want to spoil, but I don't think that part was executed really well. It wasn't able to be fleshed out because they went for the joke so much and didn't have the runtime to balance it. Gore the God Butcher, like I said, Christian Bale ate up the scenes that he was in, but he was not in enough scenes, and his motivations and his action just didn't have enough nuance for him to raise above a level to like a amazing villain, just not just in MCU, just in general. He had the opportunity, but just was not given the time or the screen time because they focused so much on the romantic relationship between Jane and Thor, and also the fun, goofy aspect of the movie. And even though I enjoyed a lot of the comedy and the goats were hilarious,
And giant goats!
Oh, look at those! They are wonderful!
Yes, they are. They also scream quite a lot.
when I first saw them in the trailer, I was like, oh god, this might become an annoying gag, but it made me laugh or go like, what the heck, almost every time that they scream. I think that the Taika and crew have gone too zany, too crazy of a route now for some people. I enjoy the comedy. I just think that it wasn't balanced enough with the serious tone and the actual meat of the story. They sacrificed the story and the plot to just make jokes, in my opinion. They had a really good concept here. They had some really good action sequences, some of the best action sequences in the MCU, but it's just the jokes, sometimes overseeded the emotional moments. Every time it felt like a character was gonna have like a good moment, it was cut short with a joke. That was just like my main problem at Ragnarok, but I thought Ragnarok was a little bit more balanced when it comes to those things. Let's talk about my verdict. Overall, I really enjoyed Thor Love and Thunder. It felt like a Saturday morning cartoon brought to life, but with that, a lot of Saturday morning cartoons didn't have a lot of depth. Back in the day, it was just a fun rom-com or just a fun romp for kids to watch, and they had like a little message here that was kind of shallow, and that's kind of what Thor Love and Thunder is. It has a lot of interesting action sequences. That black and white sequence you see in the trailer is amazing. Some of the best things I've seen in any blockbuster, and just visually, years. And I think that the tension of the message was really well, but it just wasn't executed well because it just did not have enough runtime to become a great movie. I thought that the movie could have been great, like fantastic, if it had like 30, maybe 40 more minutes. I could have sat there and they would have stretched out some of the more deeper storylines. And someone that was a fan of these comics, I was very disappointed in the portrayals of the characters and their stories. So overall, like I said, I enjoyed the movie. It was just a bit of a letdown. It makes you you laugh, but after you think about it, it's like, oh, it wasn't really that much there. So overall, I'm gonna just give this movie a C. So guys, let me know what you think about Thor Love and Thunder. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? If you're subscribed already, hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed, hit the notification bell so you can be notified of more of my videos. And before I go, I want to just give a big Patreon shout out to Eric Valentin Jr. He just signed up and went to my Going to Movies tier, and he helped me pay for this ticket so I could see this movie. So Eric, thank you so much. Yes, if you want to check out my Patreon, the link will be down below. But besides that, you can watch more of my content right now.